Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And this time, we're going to be looking at daily reflection and how it can help bring more clarity and growth into your life.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, it is something that I think a lot of people maybe don't do as much these days,
Yeah.
but it's really valuable. And we're going to be talking about kind of the best way to go about it, which is using a journal.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have heard of journaling, but maybe haven't tried it or don't really know what it entails or why it would even be beneficial for them.
Right, and there's actually a lot to it, and there are the different approaches and different things you can get out of it.
Absolutely.
I'll admit, like I've always been a bit of a stationary geek.
Oh,
I
really?
love notebooks. I love journals.
Yeah.
I have stacks of them filled with all sorts of stuff. Random thoughts,
Yeah.
travel plans.
Mm.
To-do lists, all that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until recently that I really kind of grasped the power of using a journal specifically for daily reflection.
Yeah. And that's kind of an important distinction.
Yeah.
Because just writing things down isn't necessarily the same as reflecting on them.
Right. It's not just about brain dumping onto a page.
Yeah.
It's about really kind of taking a step back and thinking about things in a more mindful way.
Yeah. It's about asking yourself those deeper questions like, why did I react that way? Or what can I learn from this experience?
And I think that's where the right kind of journal can really make a difference.
Absolutely. I think having a journal that's well designed and that you actually enjoy using can really enhance the whole experience.
Yeah, I've been using these Listelian journals for years, and I love them.
Oh, yeah, I've heard great things about those.
The quality is fantastic. The paper is so thick, so, you know, if you like using fountain pens or anything like that,
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about bleed through.
Which is a big deal for a lot of people.
It is.
Yeah.
And they have numbered pages and a table of contents, which I know might seem like a small thing, but it makes organizing your thoughts and being able to, go back and reference things so much easier.
It's those little details that can really elevate the experience
Yes,
or
yeah.
make it feel more intentional and purposeful.
It's funny you mentioned intentionality because it reminds me of my cousin Sarah. She's a therapist, and she actually incorporates journaling into her sessions with clients.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
And she swears by the Lascalian journals because of the numbered pages.
Ah, I see why that would be helpful.
Yeah, she says it makes it so much easier for her and her clients to reference specific entries and track their progress over time.
That's brilliant. I love that idea.
Yeah. So, we've kind of touched on why a good journal is important, but let's step back for a second and really kind of define what we mean by daily reflection.
Okay, yeah, let's break it down.
What exactly is it and why should we care?
Okay, so at its core, daily reflection is about taking a pause amidst the craziness of everyday life.
Yeah.
And just observing your thoughts, your emotions, your experiences with a sense of curiosity and non-judgment.
So it's not about like beating yourself up over things or, dwelling on the negative.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's more about just kind of being present with what is.
Exactly. And it's about creating a space for yourself to process everything that's happening both internally and externally.
And make sense of it all.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not just about like venting or complaining in a notebook, although I guess sometimes that can be part of it.
Right. Sometimes you just need to get things off your chest.
Yeah.
But daily reflection goes deeper than that. It's about asking yourself those questions like, what did I learn today?
Right.
What am I grateful for? What challenges did I face? And how did I respond?
It's like hitting the pause button on autopilot
Yeah, I like that.
and becoming more aware of the choices we're making and the direction we're heading in.
Precisely.
And I think that awareness is really the key here,
It is.
because without that awareness, we're just kind of going through the motions.
We're reacting rather than responding.
Right. And we're not really in control of our own lives.
And so that's where the reflection comes in because it allows us to see things more clearly.
To understand ourselves better.
Yes, and to make more intentional choices.
Choices that are aligned with our values and our goals.
Exactly. And that's how we start to create real lasting change in our lives.
So it sounds like daily reflection is really about becoming the author of our own lives,
Right? Yeah, I love that way of putting it.
instead of just letting things happen to us.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership of our experiences and using them as opportunities for growth.
But, it's one thing to talk about these concepts in theory, but how does this actually play out in real life?
Right? How does daily reflection translate into tangible benefits?
What can it actually help us achieve?
Well, the benefits are actually pretty far-reaching. For starters, it can really enhance our self-awareness, which is kind of the foundation for personal growth.
Okay, so how,
Well, by taking the time to reflect on our thoughts and feelings and behaviors, we start to understand ourselves better.
our strengths and weaknesses,
Hmm.
our values and motivations.
Exactly. And that awareness allows us to make more informed decisions about everything from our careers to our relationships.
It's like having a personal coach in our back pocket, constantly nudging us towards our best selves.
I love that analogy. And as we become more self-aware, we also tend to become more empathetic and compassionate towards others.
That makes sense. When we understand ourselves better, we're better equipped to understand and connect with others.
Right, because we start to recognize that everyone is navigating their own unique set of challenges and perspectives.
It's like that saying, be kind for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle.
Exactly. And beyond self-awareness and empathy, daily reflection can also boost our creativity and problem-solving abilities.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, when we take the time to process our experiences and let our minds wander, we often make unexpected connections and come up with innovative solutions that we might not have thought of otherwise.
That reminds me of a story my friend David told me. He's a musician, and he was struggling with writer's block for months.
Oh, no.
And he was feeling so frustrated he was about to give up on his latest album altogether.
Wow.
And then he started incorporating daily reflection into his routine,
Interesting.
using one of those Le Stallion journals, of course.
Of course.
And he would just spend a few minutes each morning jotting down his thoughts and feelings, anything that came to mind.
Not even necessarily trying to write music at that point.
Right, just creating space for his thoughts to flow.
Interesting. And what happened?
Well, after a couple of weeks of this practice, he started noticing a shift.
Okay.
The melodies and lyrics began to flow more easily. He was less self-critical and more open to experimentation.
So the daily reflection kind of unlocked a creative wellspring within him.
Exactly. It was like he had cleared out all the mental clutter and made room for new ideas to emerge.
That's a fantastic example of how daily reflection can spark creativity in unexpected ways.
It's not always about actively searching for solutions.
Right. Sometimes it's about creating the mental space for those solutions to emerge organically.
It's like planting seeds and then patiently waiting for them to sprout.
I like that analogy. You can't force the growth, but you can create the optimal conditions for it to occur.
Exactly. And speaking of conditions, one of the key aspects of establishing a successful daily reflection practice is choosing the right tools.
Absolutely. And that's where a well-designed journal like the Le Stallion journals we mentioned earlier can make all the difference.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that feeling of starting a new journal with the best of intentions only to abandon it a few weeks later.
Oh, yeah. Totally guilty of that.
But there's something about the Le Stallion journals that makes it easier to stick with the practice.
I think it's the combination of thoughtful design and high-quality materials.
Right.
Like the numbered pages and table of contents make it easy to organize your thoughts and revisit specific entries.
And the thick paper prevents bleed-through, which is essential when you're using different pens and inks.
Yes. And they have such a wide variety of colors and styles, so you can choose a journal that really reflects your personality and preferences.
It's like they thought of everything to make the journaling experience as enjoyable and effortless as possible.
They really have. And, I've even heard people say that the Le Stallion journals feel more like cherished companions than just notebooks.
Oh, that's sweet. I can see that.
There's definitely a sense of intentionality and craftsmanship that sets them apart.
And when you feel good about the tools you're using, it can make a big difference in terms of motivation and consistency.
Absolutely. But, even with the best tools in the world, starting and maintaining any new habit can be challenging.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What are some of the common obstacles people face when it comes to daily reflection?
And more importantly, how can we overcome them? I think one of the biggest hurdles is simply finding the time.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Life is so busy, and it's easy to let daily reflection slip down the priority list.
Totally. I mean, between work and family and all of our other commitments, it can feel like there's just not enough hours in the day.
Right, and that's where we have to be intentional about carving out time for ourselves.
But how do you actually do that? I mean, it's easy to say, oh, just make time for it. But in reality, it's not always that simple.
I know it's not, but here's the thing. Even a small amount of time dedicated to reflection can make a world of difference.
Okay, so you're saying it doesn't have to be like an hour-long session every day.
Exactly. Even 5 or 10 minutes of focused reflection can be incredibly beneficial.
I've heard people say that you should treat journaling like a meeting with your most important client.
Oh, I like that.
Yourself?
Yes. Make that appointment with yourself and keep it.
It's about making that commitment to show up for yourself consistently.
And just like any important meeting, it helps to schedule a specific time in your day.
Right. So whether it's first thing in the morning, during your lunch break, or right before bed, find a time that works for you and stick to it as much as possible.
Exactly. Make it a part of your routine.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you found the time you've set aside, 10 minutes in the morning,
Yeah.
you sit down with your journal, and your mind goes completely blank.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
What do you do then?
That's where prompts can be incredibly helpful.
Prompts.
Yeah, think of them as like gentle nudges that guide your thoughts in a particular direction.
So they give you a starting point.
Exactly. They can help you explore specific areas of your life, delve into particular emotions, or simply get those creative juices flowing.
Do you have any favorite prompts you'd recommend?
Oh, there are so many great ones out there. But some of my go-tos include, what am I most grateful for today?
Okay.
What is one thing I learned today that I can apply to my life? And what is one challenge I'm currently facing? And what are some potential solutions?
I like those. Those are good.
It's like having a conversation with yourself, guided by these thought-provoking questions.
It's funny you should say that because I've noticed that some people prefer guided journaling with prompts, while others are more drawn to free-form writing, where they just kind of let their thoughts flow out onto the page.
Right, both approaches have their merits.
What do you think about the different approaches?
Well, guided journaling can be a great starting point for those who are new to reflection or who prefer more structure.
Makes sense.
They can also be helpful for exploring specific themes or working through particular challenges.
Okay.
Freeform writing, on the other hand, allows for more spontaneity and stream of consciousness exploration.
So it's more about just getting everything out of your head and onto the page.
Exactly. It can be a great way to tap into your subconscious and uncover hidden insights.
So it's kind of like choosing between a guided tour and a solo adventure.
I love that analogy.
Both can lead to incredible discoveries, but the journey will be different depending on your approach.
Exactly. And the great thing is that the Listallian journals actually cater to both styles.
Oh, really?
They have dashed line pages, so you can use prompts if you like.
Right.
But you also have the freedom to just let your thoughts flow freely across the page.
So it's all about finding what works best for you.
Exactly. Honoring your own unique style of reflection.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive, I keep coming back to this idea of clarity. It seems to be the common thread that weaves through all the benefits of daily reflection that we've talked about.
Clarity is such a powerful word. It implies a sense of focus, purpose, and direction.
And I think you're right. It is the ultimate goal of daily reflection. By taking the time to observe our thoughts, emotions, and experiences with a sense of curiosity and non-judgment, we begin to see ourselves and the world around us more clearly.
We start to understand our patterns, our motivations, our strengths, and our areas for growth. And from this place of clarity, we can make more intentional choices and create a life that feels more aligned with our authentic selves.
It's like clearing the fog and stepping into a brighter, more vibrant reality.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe a journal is just the compass we need to guide us on that journey.
Well said. So if you were to start a daily reflection practice today, what would be the one thing you'd want to gain more clarity on in your life? What area feels a bit foggy or uncertain? Right now, take a moment to reflect on that and perhaps consider picking up a journal and starting a conversation with yourself. You might be surprised by the insights that emerge.
I think that's a great place to leave it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the power of daily reflection.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep reflecting, and keep growing.